Last week, we started this series on the life of Samson. And just by the way of reminder, Samson is the man. This guy just puts everybody to shame with his strength and his coolness. First, his birth is foretold by an angel who then rides this flame back to heaven. And the angel told Samson's parents that their son is going to be set apart for God from the time that he's even in the womb. And he told them that Samson would then take the lead of delivering the Israelites from the Philistines. So Samson's parents are faithful. They do everything that the angel told them to do, and Samson is born. And then the next time we see Samson, he's a grown man looking for a wife. And so he goes down to the city of Timnah, which is in Philistine territory. But he sees this woman who catches his eye. So he goes back to his parents and he says, "Get her for me as my wife." And this is a part of the story where we really start to see that some of the things that make Samson so awesome and amazing in some parts of his life, they're the same things that make him weak in other areas. And that's something that we have to watch out for too in our own lives. Even if we're strong in some areas, other areas of weakness can still be dangerous. Remember the crazy story we talked about last week? Samson and his parents, they're going down to Timnah to find this girl for him, and boom, here comes this lion roaring towards Samson all of a sudden. And he, without flinching and probably talking trash about the mother's lion or something, he rips this lion apart with his bare hands. This guy is a beast. There have been approximately 6,000 movies, TV shows, and animated features made in the last 10 years based on Marvel Comics. Well, that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but not by much. One of the most well-known characters in the Marvel universe, and he's also one of the Avengers, is the Incredible Hulk. And I'm sure almost all of us know who the Hulk is. The big green rage monster who just smashes everything in his path. He's not strategic, he's not thoughtful. In his own words, Hulk smash. Well, if Samson was a part of the Avengers, he would be the Hulk. He doesn't see the lion and start coming up with a plan and formulating some way to defeat it. He just, a lion. I'll just tear it like a young goat. And that's something we cheer for because it's so tough and it's so amazing. But he runs into problems when he tries doing the same thing with his marriage. First, he goes down to the wrong side of town, which is not smart. He's in Timnah, enemy territory. These people are not his friends. They have nothing but bad intentions for him. And this is a lesson for us. Don't hang out in enemy territory. It's dangerous. But Samson doesn't care. He just, I'm going to go see what the nightlife is like in Timnah or something. And so when he sees a girl that he thinks is cute, he doesn't go and even try and meet her. He doesn't find out what she's like, if she's trustworthy, if she's crazy. He doesn't even ask his parents what they think. He just, get her for me. He's using the Samson smash approach to finding a wife, which doesn't usually work out too well. And we have to be careful of that too. Even if we're strong in areas of our life, other areas of weakness can take us down. If we have a lot of success in leading people in business or some other area where we just demand compliance, do it this way, we can't just magically expect that to work in our families as well. Or if we're really strong at keeping the rules and setting high standards, we can't forget that sometimes we have to extend grace to ourselves and to others. If we're very strong in compassion and empathy for others, we have to be careful not to be completely drained or taken advantage of by other people. Strengths are great when they're used in the right areas, but they can cause damage if we use them irresponsibly. So after this episode with Samson and the lion, he goes down and he meets the girl. It says he talked to her and he liked her. That's all we're really told about their first meeting. Next thing we know, he's on his way back down to Timnah to marry this girl. We see this when we pick up in Judges 14:8. It says, sometime later he went back to marry her. He turned aside to look at the lion's carcass, and in it he saw a swarm of bees and some honey. He scooped out the honey with his hands and ate as he went along. When he rejoined his parents, he gave them some, and they ate it too. But he did not tell them that he had taken the honey from the lion's carcass. Okay, Samson, gross, dude. Come on. Give that to your parents? But just think about it. Here's Samson taking the Samson smash approach again. Do you think that he walked to the nearest beekeeper supply store and bought one of those hoods? Or do you think he just happened to be carrying along one of those smoker can things that puts bees to sleep? No, he just barehanded and probably bare-chested, knowing him. He just reaches in, scoops it out. Bees are probably bending their stingers over, trying to pierce his skin, and he's just like, weak little bees, your stings mean nothing to me, and he's eating the honey. But he's letting his strength in one area give him false confidence in another. We can't let our appetite for the world's sweetness be stronger than our appetite for obedience. Remember Samson's birth announcement? He was supposed to be a Nazirite from the time he was conceived. He was set apart, consecrated to God. And you remember the terms of that Nazirite vow? He was never to touch anything that comes from grapes. He's never supposed to cut his hair, and he's never supposed to touch anything dead, like maybe the carcass of a lion. Samson smash. Honey look good. Now, I don't really think that's how stupid Samson was. I think he was just impulsive. But again, he's tiptoeing right up to the line, and now he's stepping over it. Paul says this in 1 Corinthians 9:24. Do you not know that in a race all the runners run, but only one gets the prize? Run in such a way to get the prize. Samson's not running like he's going to get a prize. He's just going through the motions. First, he goes down to enemy territory. Then he sees a girl he likes, and now he's going to marry her. First, he just kills a lion. I mean, let's be honest. If you're capable of tearing a lion like a young goat with your bare hands, who wouldn't? But remember what it said in that passage? He turned aside to look at the lion's carcass, and in it he saw a swarm of bees and some honey. Oh, I'm just going to look. I'm not going to actually do anything. I'm just checking it out. Famous last words. How many times have people started out with that attitude and then ended up in huge trouble? I'm just spending time with my friend or coworker because we have so much in common. So what if they're the opposite sex? Can't guys and girls be friends? They're just such a good listener, and I have so much fun with them. I would never let anything happen. Sure, I have a problem with addiction, but I can handle it. I'm just having a little fun. I'm not doing it all the time. I can stop whenever I want. I'm just not ready to stop yet. I know that saying this or posting this on social media will probably upset people and alienate people and probably damage my ability to communicate the gospel with those around me, but I just can't help myself. I have to say this. I'm not going to be unkind about it. We're all entitled to our opinion. I know I'm not supposed to gossip, but it's not really gossip at all anyway. All I'm doing is stating the facts about how unbelievably annoying this other person is acting. It's just the truth. I can't help what other people do with that. Sure, it's probably smart to have some accountability when I'm handling this much money, but it's fine. I would never take anything that wasn't mine. I'm not really going to buy myself this thing with that money that I've taken. I'm just looking at it. I know I'm not supposed to touch dead things. I'm not going to touch it. I'm just going to go look at that lion that I killed. I'm just going to go see it. See, everything's fine. Ooh, look, honey. See, if you're on your way to where God is leading you, do not take a detour. About the time you feel like you're just cruising along without a care in the world, the enemy is going to throw a detour at you. I have a friend named Dan who I met in college. And Dan's grandpa, one time, gave him a car. And this car was a late 1970s Ford Ranchero. And if you don't know what a Ranchero is, it's like an El Camino. Car in the front, truck bed in the back. And I'm not sure what color this car started out, but when Dan got it, it was sort of this faded peach color. And it had a big bumper sticker on the back that said, "I smoke and I vote." Well, and the time came when Dan needed a ride to the airport. My wife, Christy, was in a wedding that same day. So no problem. Christy would just take our car to the wedding. I would take Dan to the airport in the I smoke and I vote mobile, drop him off, and then drive his car to meet Christy at the wedding. It was a foolproof plan. It would work out fine. Well, this was in Southern California, and I had to drive through LA to get Dan to LAX, the airport. No problem, I had time, and we made it there, and I dropped Dan off, and then I headed back toward where the wedding was. But that meant that I had to take a freeway that I really wasn't all that familiar with. And this was way before having GPS on your phone or in your car. And of course, there was construction going on, which meant a detour. I was forced to get off the freeway that I had expected to take, and I had to improvise. I had to try and find my way there. And of course, when there's construction and a detour in Southern California on the freeway, there's plenty of traffic. So I sat there in traffic for over 2 hours, just stop and go, inching along. And the time for the wedding was coming up, and I wasn't even close to getting there. There was no air conditioning in the car, so I was sitting there in traffic with the windows rolled down, breathing hot air and exhaust fumes. But then every time we would slowly creep forward, I would hear this little ringing sound kind of bouncing off the wall of the freeway. And I tried to figure out, is it coming from the car next to me? But pretty soon I realized it was coming from the car I was driving. I was dragging something metal underneath. So I pulled off at the next exit, and thankfully there was a smog check place at the gas station right there by the exit. So I pulled in, got out, and looked under the back of the car, under the I Smoke and I Vote mobile, and sure enough, there was one of the shocks that had broken loose from the top mounting bracket, and it was bouncing along on the road as I drove. And the guy, thankfully, from the smog check place came out and asked what was going on, and I told him, and he said, "Oh, I can take that off for you so you can just get to where you're going." So I was grateful. Yes, okay, good. At least one thing's going right. So he took off the shock, threw it in the bed of the Ranchero, and I headed off for the wedding, which had already started by the time this all happened. So when I finally made it to the church that the wedding was at, they had finished the wedding already, and the wedding party and all the guests were walking down this long set of outdoor stairs that went down the hill from the church to the reception hall, which was in a different building. So I had to make a left turn to get into the parking lot, and there was traffic coming the other way, so I had to kind of take off fast and turn quickly. Well, the shock had come off the driver's side rear tires, or rear wheel, so when I made that left turn, the driver's side really leaned up in the air. And since the mechanic had just tossed the shock in the bed, it went rattling across, boom, into the metal side of the truck bed. And everybody, I mean every person walking down those stairs stopped and looked over at what that sound was. And I just wanted to hide my face and turn around and just drive right back out. Ever since that stupid detour, nothing about that plan had gone right. And I didn't really have a choice in that case, but so many times in life we choose to take a detour, just to look, just to check it out, not meaning any harm. When you know what you're supposed to do, don't take a detour to look at something that you're not supposed to touch. But Samson did take a detour, and he did more than just look. So let's continue with the story as Samson goes down to get married. When he gets to his bride's father's house, he's given 30 men to be his companions, but Samson doesn't seem to be too excited about these new Philistine friends of his. So here's what he does. He says, "Let me tell you a riddle," Samson said to them. "If you can give me the answer within the 7 days of the feast, I will give you 30 linen garments and 30 sets of clothes. If you can't tell me the answer, you must give me 30 linen garments and 30 sets of clothes." "Tell us your riddle," they said. "Let's hear it." He replied, "Out of the eater, something to eat. Out of the strong, something sweet." For 3 days, they could not give the answer. Aha! Well, Samson seems to be changing his tactics from Samson smash to trying to use some brain power, but he's not really trying to use it to solve a problem. He's trying to cause a problem. He's laying down a challenge. He's antagonizing the friends and family of his wife-to-be. And as we see here, nobody is going to guess this riddle. Not even Samson's parents know that he took a detour to get some, rotting lion honey. So these guys are getting nervous. They're afraid that they're going to have to cough up 30 new outfits to Samson. So they choose to do what any sane person would do. They threaten to brutally kill the bride unless she helps them. So that's kind of crazy, but let's read and see what it says. It says, "On the 4th day, they said to Samson's wife, 'Coax your husband into explaining the riddle for us, or we will burn you and your father's household to death. Did you invite us here to steal our property?' Then Samson's wife threw herself on him, sobbing, 'You hate me. You don't really love me. You've given my people a riddle, but you haven't told me the answer. I haven't even explained it to my father or mother, he replied. So why should I explain it to you? She cried the whole 7 days of the feast. So on the seventh day, he finally told her, because she continued to press him. She then, in turn, explained the riddle to her people. Before sunset on the seventh day, the men of the town said to him, "What is sweeter than honey? What is stronger than a lion?" Samson said to them, "If you had not plowed with my heifer, you would not have solved my riddle." Okay, just a little piece of advice, Samson. Calling your new wife a heifer within the first week, that's not really getting off on the right foot there, pal. I mean, Samson's obviously pretty upset. But think about what you're saying before you say it. But he really has nobody to blame but himself. He made a stupid bet. He set the terms. He was dumb enough to tell his wife the answer, knowing that she would probably talk to these other people. So he has to pay up. But Samson's not one to just roll over and give up so easily. So he comes up with a creative way to solve this problem. It says, "Then the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon him. He went down to Ashkelon, struck down 30 of their men, stripped them of everything, and gave their clothes to those who had explained the riddle. Burning with anger, he returned to his father's home, and Samson's wife was given to one of his companions who had attended him at the feast." Yeesh, that's a pretty major reaction to losing a bet. Oh, okay, you want 30 garments? Here's 30 shredded, bloody sets of clothes that I took off the bodies of your countrymen after I killed them. That's a little over the top there, Samson, but this is a step down that same path that Samson had started down with the lion carcass. How do you think you get clothes off 30 dead bodies? He has to touch them, right? That detour to look at the dead lion was step one, and then he made a stupid bet and made his wife's friends look bad, and that backfired on him. And now, because he's embarrassed and angry, he's racked up 30 more mistakes by touching these dead bodies. Samson's been given a great gift. He's been trusted with a lot, but he's starting to go off the rails here, and he's being selfish and irresponsible. And now he angrily goes home, and his wife that all this started with is given to someone else to be their wife. His Samson smash approach to things hasn't really gained him anything. And we have to be responsible with the gifts that God gives us, because sin will derail our success. Samson's story started out exciting and impressive, and God is still with him, but he's stepping over the line. He's hanging out in enemy territory. He's taking detours just to look, but he's not just looking. He's touching things he's not supposed to touch. So let's do our best to avoid those mistakes as we follow God's leading this week, as we allow him to work through us and the gifts that he's given us to accomplish his will. And we'll see next week, as we continue to look at the story of Samson, if he learns anything from this experience and he can get himself back on track. Let's pray together. Father, it is so easy to get distracted and to depend on the strengths that we have and to ignore our weaknesses until we're in trouble. And so many times we want to take a detour. We want to just, I'm just going to put my attention over here for a minute, and pretty soon we're touching things we're not supposed to touch. We're doing things we're not supposed to do. And then we get ourselves into trouble, and it's so easy to dig a hole deeper once we've gotten there. And we just want to avoid those mistakes that we see Samson starting to make here. We want to be faithful. We want to stay right in the middle of your will. And so we ask that you just make us aware of those things that are in our life that are potential detours, potential problems, and weaknesses that we can work on and we can try to strengthen and we can get help with from other people, and we can ask you to strengthen those areas of our life. Because we want to be right where you want us to be. We want to be doing what you want us to be doing. And we don't want to have our attention drawn anywhere except to you. We thank you for your love and for the ways that you're at work in our lives, shaping us more into the image of Jesus. We pray in his name. Amen.